good, people? It's your boy Icarus Gray.
And it's your homeboy Wordplay TJ.
And this is the No Rhyme or Reason podcast, where we talk about everything.
Everything for no reason at all. And we're live.
Yeah. What's good, people? It's your boy Icarus Gray.
And it's your homeboy Wordplay TJ.
And this is the No Rhyme or Reason podcast, where we talk about everything.
Everything for no reason at all.
We are back.
Yeah, and we are sponsored by Ground News, and we're going to get into it right away because what we want to talk about today is the revelations of Wendy Williams. I said it sounds weird, but whatever. Wendy Williams is back in the spotlight, back in the forefront of our minds. We most recently heard from Wendy, or at least seen of Wendy back when the Lifetime documentary about her life and her times as a TV show host and former radio host popped up on the big screen. And since then, we've heard a lot of weird and quite frankly, concerning news about her condition, about her life and what she was going through. And quite frankly, I believe that fans and supporters and overall the culture has been worried about Wendy Williams.
Yeah.
And so in this situation, what I want to do is kind of talk about some background information, also explain why Wendy has popped back up. And then we want to talk about, will the culture show up for Wendy? Will hip hop culture show up for Wendy? Will, Black culture show up for Wendy on a greater scale, and just really get a better understanding of what she's going through in order for us to potentially support her. And so here's the background of the situation. This is reported by Forbes just a few days ago, actually, on January 16th. And it was reported by Connor Murray of Forbes. And it says that here's some key background about Wendy. So after finishing her show in 2021, she disappeared from the public eye. And basically people believed it was because of health issues. And then it was reported that she had Graves' disease and then hyperthyroidism as a part of her condition. Fast forward to 2022, and we learned that Wells Fargo froze some of Wendy's accounts after a financial advisor reported to Wells Fargo that there might be some suspicious behavior on her accounts from her son. And so after that, Wendy took Wells Fargo to court and said that they unlawfully froze her account. And this is continuing the report from Forbes. And fast forward, the judge ordered that Wendy have a guardianship. So she was court appointed a guardian, as well as they continued to kind of double down on her condition. So basically saying that she was, incapacitated. She was not able to care for herself. And this is why she needed to be given a guardian. And so.
And that was in 2022.
Right. And so today, now in 2025, Wendy has popped up again. She's done interviews with the Breakfast Club. I think that was released yesterday, which is January 17th. She's done an interview with Don Lemon, and she's also done an interview with Jason Lee. My concern around this is that Wendy is now looking for support in order to be away from New York City. She has no reason to stay in New York City. She's divorced now. And she just wants to go back home and live out the rest of her life in peace. But she feels like she's not able to, and she feels like she's held in a financial prison because of the guardian, allegedly, that she's been assigned, and because of the sort of facilities that she's been put in. So she has zero control or autonomy over her life, and now she's speaking out to the press. So that was a long story and a lot of context to give out.
One more portion of context that I wanted you to look at. Also in February of 2024, right before the Where is Wendy documentary came out, she was also diagnosed with dementia.
Yeah, so she came out and said, hey, I have dementia, and I believe it's pronounced aphasia.
Yeah.
And
so I only mention that to say the timing of everything in terms of what we're saying forward in terms of supporting her and trying to move as a culture in terms of the discussion that we're going to have is very time sensitive, because that's going to be used as an evidence piece of why she shouldn't be out of said conservatorship.
Yeah.
And as you know, dementia, or as people should know, dementia has good days and bad days in terms of your cognitive awareness. And this is only in February. So she's been in the conservatorship since 2022. So there were 2 years of, no reported, you're not in this, you're not in that. And only given the diagnosis in February and the docuseries combined together, did we get here where things seem to have gotten a little bit more tense.
So I think that's where I think we should take the discussion is like, first, why were we misled? And then will we show up? So why do you think we were misled in the first place?
I think it's because we don't necessarily protect our talk show hosts in the same way. Oprah rose above basically the same kind of disc jockey talk, Ricky Lake, Maury, Jerry Springer, that kind of stuff, to something more reputable, if you will.
Seemingly reputable.
Seemingly.
To some
allegedly.
people. You know what I mean? Like, because
well, not allegedly, but seemingly.
Being reputable depends on what culture you come from.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Wendy, however, stays in the radio personality space. The Skip Bayless space. I feel like she's our Skip Bayless. She says a lot of things that you either strongly agree with or strongly disagree with.
It's very opinionated.
Yeah. And that's, the space that she existed in. And I think that's causing a certain disconnect from people in terms of actually moving in support of. It's really hard to kind of support somebody that you feel is just somebody that spews negativity. And I think that, especially towards like the end of her TV show, it just kind of seemed like, man, what is she talking about?
Yeah, I also, when I consider why we were misled in the first place is because Wendy says it in her Breakfast Club interview. She says that the system is broken.
Yes.
She says that, this situation that I'm in is not because I should be there. It's because the way this is designed is not built to prove that I have autonomy. It's not built to prove that like somebody, it is ripe with the ability for people to abuse it.
Yeah. Currently, we don't have, in terms of high profile things that I can think of, a conservatorship or any of these things that was actually positive towards the person that's in it. Britney Spears was not a good conservatorship. Michael Orr of the Blindside fame, Baltimore Ravens guard, like that was also not a good one. And now we're here. these seem to be some sort of like, just let this person control or take over somebody's money and do what they want to with it.
Yeah. So I don't know. What I'm going to do is play a little bit from the Breakfast Club interview. We might get this pulled down from YouTube, but we're going to play it anyway. And if Content ID has anything to say about it, then we'll remove it. But anyway, for context, that's what we're going to play. And then we're going to come back and kind of talk a little bit about the 2 minutes that we're hearing.
Wrong with these people here on this floor. You understand what I'm saying?
Yes.
And I'm not saying something bad. I'm just saying that I am with these people. I am clearly not. Look, I have breakfast, lunch, and dinner right here on the bed. Right? I watch TV. I listen to radio. I look at the window. I talk on the phone. And by the way, Alex, talk about this phone, please. Alex, you've been right here where I am, so you know exactly what you're talking about. You flew from Miami to New York, and you were right here with me. Go ahead.
Yeah, and what she's saying is.
And for reference, Alex is one of her family members.
Exactly what's happened. She's there in New York, in this place, essentially like what some would call a luxury prison, right? This is her room. That's literally her apartment. But the thing about this apartment, and you know this, not Wendy, because you're there, it's small. She has a bed, a chair, a TV, a bathroom, and she's looking out one window. The buildings across the street. That's her life.
Excuse me, and excuse me, through my money, I had this person buy the TV, the kind of TV I like, a large TV, you understand what I'm saying? Through this person, because all of my stuff is in storage, you understand what I'm saying? Everything's in storage, and by the way, that was to sell my apartment, but anyway.
Is the person your guardian? Is that who you're referring to, your guardian?
Yes.
Well, Sabrina Morrissey is her name, and right now A&E Network and Lifetime were sued by Sabrina. She claims they exploited you in a vulnerable state. They exploited your condition, and I'm putting condition in air quotes. You signed to do that documentary without your consent, but A&E and Lifetime countersued and said that Sabrina realized the documentary would question the quality of her own guardianship. It actually says in the lawsuit, it appears that Morrissey is misusing her position as a guardian of Williams to silence criticism of her controversial and failed administration of the guardianship. They even used the words guardianship abuse. What do you think of that?
So I think the question is, what do we think about that? Because I think as we were doing some pre-production conversations, the question came up is like, why would Wendy even trust this person in the first place? And it just dawned on me that she has to trust this person.
Yeah, you're court ordered. You don't have any other choice. And much like she said, you don't get a choice with how the system works. The system is how the system is until it changes.
Right. And if Sabrina says, and Wendy, if Wendy agrees with it, right? If Sabrina and Wendy go to do this documentary, and then Sabrina starts to learn that the documentary isn't really in her favor because of what they're watching, Sabrina has all the power to then say, oh, no, you're not going to release this, which is pretty wild, even though it would liberate Wendy. So apparently, or at least speculatively, nobody wants Wendy to gain back control.
It's also interesting, as we stated before, how this was all set up. So it wasn't Wendy. It's a financial advisor that was able to say to her bank, I don't think anything is going right. Let's go to court and try and take this right away from her. Because I think people are doing shady stuff. There was nothing that was in there to protect her. It doesn't say, well, I think I want to be able to protect her assets from whatever. It's like, hey, y'all got a lot of money with her, is what it feels like, allegedly. I think we need to stop her from just going crazy. And therefore, then the judge seemed to rule in a sense of, well, I don't think you have certain clarity. There should be somebody that's managing your money for you.
Well, let's not put words in the judge's mouth.
Allegedly. In terms of because that's the other part that's interesting about this. We can't even look at the actual court information because all of that court stuff was sealed.
Yeah. So I think what you're getting at is this is a situation where Wendy wasn't going to have control whether she wanted it or not, because the individuals involved seem to be hell bent on taking advantage of Wendy's wealth.
Yes. It's very concerning because, even with the alleged, like I said, I don't know what the judge's reasoning was behind his ruling or her ruling. Mm-hmm. I don't know what the evidence was. I know that we don't get a dementia report until 2 years later.
Right.
So there should have been some sort of like hope for recovery or something, because you thought she needed help. But these conservatorships just seems like unchecked, like people just have all the control and there's never like hey, can we check in with this person to see how they are doing? I just trust whoever we've given guardianship to, that their mental standing is always going to be morally good, is what this stuff feels like.
It's essentially unregulated, right?
Yeah.
And there's no, it seems like there's no way for folks to do their due diligence to check on, number one, to see if Wendy is well enough to care for herself, or her family is well enough to care for her. And it seems like the due diligence that should be there to check in on the people that are arguing for conservatorship. So like Wells Fargo, are we going to ask the question, or was the question asked, are these the right people to manage this on behalf of Wells Fargo? I think that question comes up a lot.
It's very weird because the question then goes, why do we think it's okay for a bank to control her money? Like, so, artists, entertainers go broke all the time in a lot of different ways.
Because of their financial advisors in some cases.
And they don't get that money back. You still got to pay the taxes that were supposed to be paid by this person. That person can't even be charged and then be forced to pay that money because the money is gone.
Yeah, you have to sue them.
And, what is the purpose? Like, it seems like a lot of this is just to make sure that the banks can use your excess of money however they want to. Because I don't see like the positive of, like, if she's spending money, well, I mean, on some level that helps the economy. You're spending. Mm-hmm. But this bank loses, whatever it is or however much they had like held, whether the financial investor is doing stocks and stuff with them.
But we don't know. And so therefore, like, the bank wants to protect the assets of the client, but the bank, I feel like there's a conflict of interest here.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
There's a giant conflict of interest in this situation where the bank wants to protect assets.
Yeah.
The financial advisor, or at least the old financial advisor that was involved in this, wants to somehow claim that they're protecting these assets, but somewhere in the middle is the truth. And it doesn't feel like anybody has been getting down to the truth. It just sounds like everybody's been burying the truth under a lot of mess. So speaking of burying the truth,
hey,
this episode is brought to you by Ground News. So if you're tired of the news bias and algorithms manipulating the way you see the world, like they manipulated this Wendy Williams story, Ground News is a perfect app to reduce that bias and analyze the factuality of your news sources. With Ground News, I monitor exactly what's going on in the world of music, entertainment, and politics to get an understanding of what to talk about on this show and how to discuss it. So you can subscribe through my link to get 40% off the Vantage subscription. It's the subscription that I have in order to get the news as unbiased, or at least see different perspectives of the news in multiple different ways. You can get it as a you can get unlimited access to this feature by using my link, check.ground.news/WPTJ. That's check.ground.news/WPTJ. And Now we get back to our content.
That sounds like a radio station.
Welcome to WPTJ.
One day.
How do you think people are gonna? There's a GoFundMe campaign.
Yeah. There's a GoFundMe and a change.org that I'm sure you can find on the Breakfast Club interview, which will be linked in our description.
Yeah, just I would say Google it. Like Wendy attests in the Breakfast Club interview that like, hey, I got $15 in my pocket because everybody else is controlling the money that I should have access to. And I just want to go home back to Miami and be with my family and have access to my funds so that I can live the rest of my life the way I see fit. And so she's looking for financial support. And I guess the question is, do you think we're going to show up for Wendy the same way that like Britney Spears fans showed up for her?
Sadly, I don't think so. And I don't think so because at this point, the cards are so stacked against her. Like, you know, she's not disputing that she has dementia or anything like that. And that is going to be used against her. And cases take a very long time.
I don't mean by the case, right? Like, but the public.
Well, what I'm saying is like, I think we have to move quickly if anything is going to happen. And do I think people are going to do that? No, I think they're going to be inundated with a lot of information about her dementia and other things and not necessarily want to move on her behalf. Because what they're going to do is no matter how cognizant she sounds, that's probably going to be the first thing that you think of. And you'll probably go in your mind, well, I don't know how long, da-da-da-da-da. You might just think, well, maybe she's just saying stuff. Maybe she just forgot. Like with Britney, it was like, you doing crazy stuff, but I think you just crazy. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, like there wasn't this added caveat of an actual medical condition. Had we actually been doing something...
but mental illness is medical, and I think that's what people missed.
Yes,
in the conversation around Britney is that like if you're doing things that might be synonymized with having some type of mental condition or having some health impacts to your mind, why aren't we approaching it that way versus being dismissive? I think her fans saw that, and her fans stood up for that. Where I think we might take it, and I say we as Black culture, hip hop culture, I think the way we might take it is, first of all, I believe that we're gonna really. I feel like Wendy is believable in this situation, and I believe that we are going to believe Wendy.
Yeah,
as a culture,
and you know, not to
the other place where I think we're not going to do well is our understanding and our destigmatizing of mental health and health in general.
Yeah, I
think some of us are going to understand how how your health might change and either improve or decline based off of what you have. I feel like all of our speculation about her health is going to be improper and wrong.
Yeah, I agree. And I think that's, like I said, the biggest issue for support is because we're not going to have the information that we need. And currently, she can't talk about any of those things really and dig into them because that then becomes certain levels of defamation or could be considered, you know, misleading or whatever the case may be. Like even in the interview,
might undermine her case.
Yeah. And so there were a lot of things that she couldn't say, that she would have to talk in certain codes with her niece, Alex. And it's one of those things where I'm hopeful that we will support her, that we will help with this cause, because I currently just don't see the value in these conservatorships. They literally just seem to be predatory from my perspective. And it's not helpful to the person. And ultimately, we've had too many situations where whether it's financial advisors, whether it's all these different people that don't necessarily have to pay for all of the repercussions of how they destroy stuff. Mm-hmm. So it's not like that person's taxes or credit and everything was messed up. The person that you were supposed to be managing my stuff is messed up.
Yeah. And
the full onus is now on me because I trusted this person, whatever. But it's like you know, either qualify this person for the job or whatever. So it's an uphill battle that I think that we can win. I just think we have to be diligent and we have to go forward with helping Wendy in that way, because nobody should have to go through this type of situation, whether you have money or don't have money. And it's bad, bro. Yeah. And I just don't like that.
So I think we should actually be a little bit more optimistic, because it seems like the Change.org campaign maybe just getting underway. Mm-hmm. I'm gonna let it load here in a second, but the GoFundMe has almost doubled. As far as their goal is concerned, they're aiming to raise $50,000. They've raised $21,000 so far. Last night when I checked on this, or at least seen the GoFundMe page, it was around about $11,000 to $13,000, and so it's headed seemingly in the right direction.
550 people donated, which is like a significant amount of people to get to that number of varying degrees. Like, anything helps. Yeah.
And there's a call to action to not only like help Wendy, but there's a call to action for legal reform in her Change.org campaign. And so many right now, according to this, about 1,800 people have signed the Change.org campaign and are in support. So right now there's evidence to assume that Wendy has a lot of support from the community, and we, for the most part, believe Wendy. So I'm hoping that that everything gets better for her family, and her are able to be reunited, and there's accountability for the individuals who may be doing wrong.
Yeah, and that's 2 days worth of work. So shout out to y'all for showing up.
Yeah,
because it's needed, and like reform is needed in so many different ways. And now more than ever, we have to be very diligent about said reform and kind of staying with the course of making those changes and continuously pushing for those changes, even though it may be difficult.
Yeah.
But yeah, so shout out to Wendy and shout out to just changing this situation. What do y'all think about this situation? Do you think it's a crazy thing? Do you know anything about conservatorships or anything like that? Put that down in the comments, and we'll see you guys in the next one, on 1 and 2, and peace.